Welcome to November's Wednesday Lunch and Learn. We are happy to be here with you. Michelle Brown and I, Amberly Forrester, are the hosts of the Lunch and Learns, and we do this to create a space to have discussion, to learn some things, and to get some coaching and conversation and peer feedback and input on some of the topics and issues that we deal with on a regular basis. There's a lot going on, and having that safe space just to unpack it and be surrounded by good people who want to see us all supported and see us progressive is, I think, very important for both Michelle and I. So again, I'm Amberly Forrester. I'm the founder and principal of the Quartz Wellness Collective. I'm a positive psychology practitioner and certified life coach. I am an affiliate partner of Michelle, who will introduce herself as well, but it's just always a pleasure to be here with you. Michelle?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm Michelle Brown, principal and CEO of Into Action Coaching. We are a New Jersey-based executive coaching, professional development, training, and consulting agency. And I consider myself kind of a self-professed empowerment activist. And, you know, what Amber and I do on these Wednesdays once a month is a labor of love because, you know, we are setting the intention of wanting to raise the vibration of the planet, So what we do here in providing a safe and brave space for souls like you to join us, it's about really making sure that we are doing our part to feel and be the best that we can be so that we can sort of bring about that positive change in our lives and in our communities and in the world at large. So that's what we're up to, ladies.
Oh, said so perfectly, as always. Thank you, Michelle. So today we're talking about resilience and coping. And this is a very relevant topic that we specifically chose for today, the day after the election, because we feel you. There's been a weight in the universe, right? Things have been a bit heavy. And so today we're going to talk about how do people overcome challenging life events and experiences, like the death of a loved one, losing a job, being diagnosed with a serious illness, or even all of what's going on just in our nation with all of the pandemic, and not the nation, but the world, all of what's been going on. Most people react to these circumstances with a surge of negative effect and a sense of uneasiness. We as human beings have a negativity bias. The negative things in life can trump the positive things, no pun intended, with such ease that we really have to be more intentional about creating a plan for resilience, for coping, for getting through, and creating positivity in our lives so that the negativity does not take over. Over time, we often adjust and we adapt, right? People are able to bounce back from adversity, trauma, tragedy, and threats of significant source of stress because of their inherent resilience. We are naturally resilient. We just have to learn to tap into that. And so this is a process, and adaptation to our circumstances is really stronger when we're able to have awareness over our process of bouncing back. How do we bounce back? How have we bounced back in the past? How can we bounce back in the future? I got news for you. You've survived everything that has happened to you up until today. So you have a natural resilience as a part of you. However, oftentimes we really need the space to talk. If we don't, one of my favorite quotes is dis-ease equals disease. When we don't create a space to reflect, to unpack, and to really deal with our emotions, they often build up beneath the surface and they come out at bad times, or they come out in negative ways within our health, within our relationships, our emotional well-being. And so with today, Michelle and I, really just wanted to, we are both certified coaches. We really wanted to create a space for a conversation and to just ask you all to engage with us and talk as we kind of guide you through this process of opening up and sharing some of your best practices around resilience and coping, and even possibly getting some real life challenges that you may be experiencing, and having the opportunity to have us as coaches and the community of people who are joined with us today to help and to support you through some things. So with that, I'll give it to Michelle.
Yeah, so for all of you that are on the call today, again, we want to share that, even though we're on Facebook Live and this is a live webinar, we want to create a safe and a brave space that hopefully with anyone who feels compelled can sort of share with Amber and I and the group at large what you may be grappling with, because Amber and I often say your story is our story. And when we can be open and vulnerable enough to communicate what we may be challenged with and what tools we need in order to cope and overcome stress to demonstrate resiliency, sometimes it takes a village, right? So we want to use today's conversation to kind of do that. So to get us started, I want you all to think about the circumstances and situations that are happening in your life, either personally or from a societal perspective. And on a scale of 0 to 5, rank how you're feeling kind of right now. 0 is I am completely overwhelmed. You know, I'm having a challenge sleeping and staying focused. And a 5 is I got this. So take a moment, reflect on where you are, and if you could be so kind, put your numbers in the chat so that we can kind of see where you are. We want to take your emotional temperature.
Mhm. With that, I also just, we'd like to encourage you and remind you that it's okay to not be okay. And so by simply acknowledging when you're not okay, it's the first step to getting to better. So if ever, now or at any time, that you are not okay, it's not something you need to announce to the world, but within safe spaces and amongst people who love and care about you, it is certainly not only okay, but advisable to say when you are not okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So with you registering kind of, you know, what your emotional number is, we want to, again, Amber and I are intending, we don't necessarily have a script. We're going to be just jumping in organically. And we're inviting anyone who wants to be brave to kind of share what their number represents and what's happening in their life that's causing them to be at that number. And if there's any support that you need, because that's what we want to do. We want to turn this into kind of a support group to kind of help each other get to that 5, if not 7, if not 10, because I see some pretty high numbers being reflected. So that positive high vibration is good.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to share? Doreen? Unmute. There you go.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Thank you. I want to just personally thank my friend here, Sylvia, for inviting and sharing the link to us and Susan, who's on the phone, who can't show her face today. Otherwise, I would have never received this information. And I feel like, just like you said, Amber, the timing is impeccable because it is much needed. I think a lot of us lost a lot of sleep last night trying to stay up, debating on whether to engage or step back and just wait. So when you say between a 0 and 5, as far as how I'm feeling today, I would say that I'm going in between a 3, a 2 at times, trying to get back to at least a middle ground. I guess dealing with the reality of the situation, but trying to maintain that positivity of moving forward, that things are going to be okay. And it's not just with the political climate or the civil unrest that's going on, but, you know, work environment, home environment, all of these things just kind of coming together at this time. Probably I'm struggling just to maintain the balance of everything.
Yeah. It's Doreen.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to let Amber kind of chime in, but thank you for sharing first off. And you're probably not alone. So you kind of say you're at a 3 or 3.5, and you know, you're just trying to sort of stabilize yourself. So my first question would be, you know, these outer conditions impact us. There's no doubt about it. You know, what would a 5 look like? What would a 5 feel like?
A 5 is usually what I maintain, and it's just It usually involves family, coworkers who have become friends, just sharing our feelings and our thoughts about things. I guess a good work day where things go smoothly, knowing that we're all healthy and safe. Usually, I think that all kind of comes together and helps me to maintain a 5.
Got it. So what's interesting is, and again, you know, I'll continue to speak to your story is our story, right? Because we are going through such tumultuous times, you know, and oftentimes what keeps us from being a 5 or holds down sort of the stress or the inability for us to cope is because we are attached to a condition, right? An external condition. So, you know, if the outcome of the election turns out in our favor, all right, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know, if I just lost my job and as soon as I find another job, I'll be at a 5. And when we are attached to an external condition, we are going to go through tumultuous times because life is going to throw curveballs at us as it is right now. I mean, we're in the freaking middle of a tsunami, right? A global tsunami. And it's just converging on us. And oftentimes, you know, I believe that these are opportunities for us to acquire the tools and the resources we need to not allow our external conditions to predicate our internal emotional state, right? So this is what can be the contributor to resiliency, even in the midst of this shitstorm, right? You know, so it's mindfulness. I'll share and then I'll give you back the mic because I don't want to talk too much. But what I was listening to a podcast recently by Michael Singer, the author of The Untethered Soul. If any of you have read that book or feel compelled, it's incredible simply because he speaks to the power of our mind to then control our emotions, right? So when we can, Amber and I were speaking the other day, and she was saying to me with some of the stuff that I'm going through, you know, what do you need? Ask the universe, ask God, what is it that you need? And when she asked me that question, I first wanted to go to, I want my external situation to change. But what I then come to grips with was, I just want peace. And the more she talked to me about what it would take to acquire that peace, I realized it's a state of mind. Right? So with what you shared and your 3.5, look at the 5, love, and define it. You don't have to share it with us because this is your life. That the 5 not necessarily be a shift with an external condition, you know, whether family is there or whether they're not there, you know, what that 5 would look like within your internal state, where maybe it's practicing radical surrendering, where we are, you know, saying the serenity prayer, right? Where we can accept the things that, you know, we can't change and the power to change the things that we can, right? So oftentimes, you know, the art of resiliency is, what do I need to do? It's an inside job in order to shift my mindset to find a place of peace and tranquility, even in the midst of transition or turmoil. Yeah, so that's my feedback. Amber, anything you want to share?
Yeah, I do. I just want to point out the beauty of you sitting next to your friend right now and the support, because oftentimes in our resilience, like we're so separated from each other right now, more than ever before. And the fact that you two are there together and that your friend has invited you, Susan has invited you to join this call, is a huge part of like your resilience plan, if you will. I'm going to share a document in the chat with you all that helps you to come up with your resilience plan. And a part of that plan, I just shared it there. A part of that plan is recognizing your support system, the people around you who have your back, that want to see you win, that you can be open and authentic with, who are not going to judge you, but who are going to listen to you and even remind you who you are. Michelle and I have this amazing relationship where we remind each other of our power, of who we are. When naturally we're human, everyone's going to have a day when they're challenged, or a year or a month or a span of time when they're challenged. And a lot of times we need a reminder. We need someone to say, hey, you've overcome things in the past. Hey, you can lean on these strengths that you have, and to even just be there for a shoulder to cry on. And so the support that you have, that the fact that you all are there together is really beautiful. And I'm just like celebrating with you the openness that you must have with your community, with the people, or with your loved ones around you, that you all support each other in the way that you do.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll chime in. Hi, everybody.
Yes.
Hi.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. We probably have all been better than we are
Yeah.
today, but we're doing
Yeah,
maybe pretty
I'm trying. Yeah, my hope right now is to, that we infuse each other with some, just even the balance of our pain and our anxiety, that connection there to recognize what we're feeling and recognize that stress because it's real, and then to try to anchor it in some way to elevate and to offer some hope. And so that's my desire, in joining you guys today. I'm also holding my crystals. I've got my rose and my power crystal, my chakra crystals, and my blue for communication. So my desire is to really move more into my healing work and recognizing a lot of what Michelle said, that we're so, our happiness is so predicated on these external things that we oftentimes can't control. And so, I try to really keep it simple and ask myself, like, what if? And so what? Okay, so this doesn't go my way. Okay, then what then? Then how do I deal with that? And recognizing that after each thing, like, I'm not going to burst into flames or because I know for me as a person who suffers from anxiety, I can allow the simplest of things, like sending an email to someone and procrastinating on that and allowing it to be much larger, than it really is. And so I know for me, I put in that I'm at a 3. I generally navigate between a 4 and a 5 if we're working on that scale. And it's largely because of what Amber said. I do have a great network of people. I have people who look out for me. I have people, like 4 people called me last night to check on me. Hey, how you doing? I know, because they know how particularly connected I am to this, political space. And I decided over the last week that regardless of the outcome, the work remains. It's still important to fight and to march. I'm a very left-leaning liberal. I'm progressive. And I feel very strongly that even if this election goes in, our favor, that these are centrist politicians and they're not going to do the progressive work that is necessary unless we push them. And so I feel very strongly that in either event, that the work remains. And so that's how I've been able to kind of resolve the anxiety that I feel and know that nothing can change in terms of my desire to keep pushing and pushing. My hope is to push a centrist rather than be ruled by a white supremacist. That's my hope. But in any event, still have to keep pushing and do that work because, next week when Biden and Harris are president, the systems that we operate within won't have changed. And that's really, to me, the larger conversation, which is about dismantling systems of patriarchy and white supremacy and gender inequity and ableism and homophobia. And so my hope is that it goes left, but I know that the work remains. And that is how I continue to not be jarred by these external forces that Michelle talked about, and to keep moving toward the healing work. Because if we are destabilized and derailed, by the shifts of the world, then the world owns us. And we have to be able to own ourselves. And so, Deepak Chopra talks a lot about detachment. And so I try to be intentional in what I want. I try to be specific in what I want. And then I try to be detached and understand that it may come to me in a way that maybe I hadn't wanted, in the neat little box with a bow. It oftentimes doesn't come that way. So we have to, I've been working really, really, really hard to see the year 2020 as a gift that has shaken us into the space of change. Perhaps if Hillary Clinton won, people would have been like, whew, and then we would have relaxed and the systems would have still been the same. And so I'm not at all saying that it was a good thing that we have the leadership that we have. I think it's deleterious and horrendous, and I think he's a piece of excrement. But I do believe that this year has been a foundation shaking year. And so I'm choosing to accept it as the motivator to kick us out of the normalcy that everybody is trying to get back to and push us in a space of equity and joy. Equity and joy. That's my mantra.
Desi, oh my gosh, that was so beautifully expressed. And you fed my soul with sharing that. And what I got from it is the I'm going to say the fight, the movement continues, right? So your mission, is sort of the political manifestation of bringing about that we hopefully at some point can live the truths that were written in the Constitution, because they were words, but they've not yet at all been practiced, right? But what I also took away from what you shared is we all have a purpose. And when we go through tough times, if we can anchor ourselves to what is it for me to do, it fuels our sense of power and empowerment and does not leave us victim to, the control that we may involuntarily give to others, right? When we can anchor ourselves to what difference can I make? What is it for me to do? I actually felt within my body kind of a resurge of optimism. The work that my agency is doing in a lot of instances now is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And this has been caused by, the racial and social injustices that have just continued to rear its ugly head in a way in 2020 that in my life, I've not seen since the civil rights movement, right? So it's a challenging time that we're going through, and me personally, but connecting to what you said, Desi, it says to me, okay, Michelle, what is it for you to do? How can you be a change agent and not fall victim to, oh my God, the world is falling apart. But what is it that I can do that ties into my values, my purpose? Because when I can anchor myself to that, I feel more powerful. And then I'm practicing resiliency in the sense of saying, okay, sometimes I feel like I'm swimming in, murky waters, but yet there's a lot that I can do to help bring about change. So yeah, you fed us with that, and just, reminded me of how to look at the glass half full as opposed to half empty.
I'll also chime in. I'm inviting someone from Facebook on, so pardon me for looking all around. Yeah, so much, Desi, in what you said. And I remember in the last election, it just reminded me of what my mom told me about the pendulum swinging. And when it swings very far in one direction, naturally, it's got to swing far in the other direction. And I think that we're experiencing that, yet in the in the silver lining and the hope that we have for the future and the flexibility that we have around how we're going to show up, even if things don't go our way, is I think where our real power is, and that we don't give up, that we don't throw our arms up and feel powerless. Because when we feel powerless, like we have no control over our lives or what happens, that's when depression and anxiety truly start to set in, and we feel that there's no hope for the future. And so, like Michelle, I felt a spark of optimism and positivity and hope in so much of what you were saying, because it was just such a great reminder of this being a process and the hills and valleys that we experience and how we show up for the journey along the way. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you, ladies. And thank you for this forum. It's important.
Mm.
And this, thank you.
Absolutely. We're grateful that you guys show up. Anybody else want to share? We want to hear. Don't be shy.
Right. So
I see a comment from Mary. You state, I know I'm calling you out, so share with us. You said you're on a 3 on a 5-point scale. You want to tell us more?
Sure, I had my camera off because I was eating my lunch. I only got 15 minutes notice that you were having this, so I've got another meeting coming up, so this was my only chance to eat.
So Mary, hang on, before you share, adjust your camera, because right now we're seeing that, there you go. All right, yes.
Mary.
So I didn't want my camera on while I was eating.
Oh.
As I said, I only got 15 minutes notice, so I had no idea this was taking place. And I said,
but we're glad you can join us for however long.
no, thank you. So the reason I put a 3 down, I had moved from my home that I owned for over 30 years in Summit to a continuing care community. I'd broken my leg 4 years ago. My son didn't want me dealing with the stairs. So I was still clearing out the house and moving things, being an accumulator. And the house finally got sold. Now I still have to deal with the stuff that I brought back here, plus to a storage facility. So it's just like there's still a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
I've been suing, but at least it's, you know, it's in a controlled space at a controlled time, and I'm not driving back and forth to the house. And I'm freed from the financial burdens of the taxes and all the utilities and everything else there. So that's a relief. But
So
I'm not in fun.
So that 3 is kind of just indicative of the transition that you're in?
I think so, mainly. You know, I am retired, so I'm not dealing with the job stresses.
Yeah.
I miss my family because they're out on Long Island, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my son, I have one grandson who's just a year and a half. And so not possibly being able to go out there for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't like to drive those distances, especially coming home in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
I do drive locally, but I never drive out to Long Island. I always take 2 trains. And whether that's safe to do or not, you know, they're recommending, especially for seniors, that it's really not safe to do.
Mm.
So, you know, the idea of missing my family is a concern.
Yeah, yeah. And you raise a really good point, Mary, in the sense that a lot of times, you know, the stress or just the challenges that we're going through, when we can recognize, regardless of what they are and how conditional they are, that they're temporary. Right? That they're temporary. I know in reading, you know, some of the tips that Amber has published in that worksheet, it's recognizing that, you know, things happen to us throughout the course of our life and we survived it.
Right.
Right? And, you know, you may be honestly admitting to you being a 3, but that 3 does not define you. Right?
No.
Yeah, because you've been there before. You may have even been a 1 or 2.5 or a 4,
right?
So it's you know, even to Desi's point, when we acknowledge where we are, that's how we show ourselves love, and at the same time, we know that it's not permanent, because whether we make an internal shift in order to look at things differently, because when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change, right? And the other point, when the outer condition miraculously and fortunately, you know, may shift, we just realize, you know, we've been through similar, maybe worse, but we survived it. And that contributes to resiliency that says, with whatever we're going through now, we will overcome it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Michelle, and thank you for that, Mary. To your point, I would like to just invite us to look at that, to look at and recognize some of our strengths from the way that we've handled our challenges that we've overcome in the past. And so if Lottie, are you able to turn your camera on? Just acknowledging your comment in the chat and embracing that. I'd like to invite you, if you would like, and if not, then we can hear from someone else, to think of a time, and this is on the worksheet that I shared, but to think of a time that you have overcome something really significant. Like, what is one of the hardest things that you've dealt with in your entire life? Not sure if we're going to get Lottie for that. Lottie, are you here with us?
I am.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
I am
sorry.
here. Yes.
Hi.
Well, to answer that question, I think one of the most challenging times that I faced in my life was a period of my life when I was in college, and I was physically attacked, almost killed, and just being able to survive that was enough. I know I mentioned that I'm acknowledging that I'm not okay right now. And I know this too shall pass. It's just that I guess if I had to sum it all up into one sizable atom, there's more. I know that there's more positive than there is negative floating around in our atmosphere. But where I am more annoyed. Some people may see high levels of annoyance as frustration. I'm not frustrated. I'm not angry. I'm just really annoyed at what's happening locally where I am, professionally, in our climate. The things that are going on are just so outside of what I'm sure many people deemed to be civil and humane, and it's just being allowed to happen. And it's being allowed to happen for a variety of reasons. I think our society is at a space where we have to confront some things, and that's difficult for some groups. It has exploded in other groups, but personally where I am, I'm just extremely annoyed. There's a lot of nonsense and foolishness going on. And it seems as though when you bring that to the forefront in a way that you can engage in professional conversations such as this, or just having tough conversations and embracing the ability to communicate with other people, it appears that people don't want to communicate about it. It's easiest to, resort to just saying no and stepping back and just being mad about it. As annoyed as I am, I'm pretty calm. I don't know how I do that. I think that's just innate to me. But I'm so annoyed that my voice quivers, and I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I hear it in my voice, where it's on the verge of cracking, and that's the telltale sign to me that this level of annoyance cannot be maintained. You have to release that type of energy, and I think where I am struggling is, where do I release it? Do I work out? That's not helping. I join forums such as this, and I have a great support system in my professional location. I have great colleagues. There's support there, but how many avenues can one engage before it all capsizes? And that's where I am. I am extremely annoyed. I don't know how else to express that. And I find that I find answers just listening to other people's experiences and trying to learn from those perspectives and see if I can tap into some of those things. But there comes a point where you've saturated that. And I think I've found myself at a point where that's saturated.
Let me ask you a question, Lottie. So your annoyance, is it motivating or demotivating?
Sometimes it fluctuates. I guess initially when that feeling comes on, it's like, I can battle this, I can beat this, this is just fuel for the fire. But you can only feed a fire so much until it encompasses you. I feel like I'm in a forest fire. That's what I feel like. Sometimes it's motivating. Sometimes it's demotivating. Usually it becomes very clear after a couple of glasses of wine. And then you just kind of sit back and say, I've dealt with things that are worse. They're very different. This is different. It's not good, bad. It's just different. It's a different type of stressor. It's just different.
Because I'm hearing you, and again, I'll repeatedly say your story is our story, and just in how you're expressing your annoyance, there's two sides of the fence, right? So sometimes the annoyance can be a motivator, similar to what Desi shared, that it's like, okay, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, right? Which then causes us to sort of put ourselves in action to be part of the change that we potentially may want to see. And sometimes it's demotivating in the sense that it's like, you know what? I have no energy. I have no stamina. And that's okay too, because, pushing ourselves fast and beyond where we are is what they call practicing metaphysical malpractice, right? We have to recognize where we are when we're in it and not deny it. And sit in it, wade in it oftentimes until, we can get our resiliency level back up to put us in motion to fight the good fight, and to get into good trouble.
And I think that's where I am. I think I'm in that space simply because I've been on both ends of the continuum. I've been there. All in the last couple of months, I've been on both sides. So I think where I am currently is I know that I'm not okay, because any moment there could be an explosion, but I seem to be handling it very well, which is, those are signs from the atmosphere. Those are signs from the earth. That's my energy talking to me, and I relate to that. I guess I'm just kind of in limbo, where do I go? What's the next step? What's the next space I need to move into? I haven't identified what that is. And I think that's okay. And I acknowledge that that's okay, but I don't feel complacent. I don't know where to put my energy. I just don't know where to put it.
And that's okay. We're validating for you, Lottie, that sometimes it's just not about doing, but being. And sometimes what my affirmation and my prayer is God, grant me the mind of you, the mind of the Christ, right? So that my choices and my decisions are not what my ego and my intellect tell me, but it's what my higher self. So until we get that download, sometimes it's just being and being okay, because we call ourselves human beings, but we're not. We're human doers, right? But spiritually, we are human beings. Well, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but supporting with where you are, when we don't have a clear direction of what to do, and there's more ambiguity than there is certainty, it's okay. We have to give ourselves permission, because there's going to be a download. There's going to be some burst of inspiration, something that comes from deep within you that says, this is what to do, this is where to go, this is what to think. And until you get that download with whatever you're feeling, love, it's okay. We have to just be where we are. That is the ultimate act of self-love and self-acceptance.
So well said, Michelle. I want to add to that also in that I'm not sure what your spiritual practice looks like, but that bigger picture and higher power is often a place where we lean at these times, right? And so sometimes instead of telling spirit, the universe, or even ourselves what we need, it's most powerful to ask, what do I need? What should I be doing? God, show me the way. How and to listen, to put yourself in a space to receive, which is why, like, I love to meditate, and I'm an advocate for meditation, and that praying is talking to God and meditating is listening. And so when we allow ourselves to be still enough to receive the answers, and not just thinking that they're going to come in a minute, but even what it may be is making time in your morning to just sit and be still before you go into the busyness of your day. And eventually, because it doesn't just happen overnight, eventually things will start to come to you and through you. And when we ask powerful questions, we get powerful answers in return. And so where it feels like what you've done in the past may not work now, there may be another solution. However, I also encourage you to lean on the things that have gotten you through in the past. You have overcome a near-death experience. You have wisdom and sagacity built into you. You know, that is not just physically overcoming, but emotionally and mentally overcoming something like that, where you can become a functioning member of society, or be a functioning member of society after something so awful happening to you. So there is wisdom in you that you can pull from, and it may feel like it's not working when you do it once or twice, but when you come up with those things that you can lean on and you go to them on a regular basis, healing doesn't happen overnight. Healing doesn't happen in a meditation session. It's a constant thing, right? And so when you are identifying how you want to feel, and then what do you need? Like in that, with Michelle and I, in our conversation that we had, what do I need is such a powerful question. What do I need? Because we can't depend on society or other people to be right. We can't we can't make others do what we want them to do, but we do have that control within ourselves. So asking yourself, what do I need, and sitting still enough to answer. And whether that be taking action, whether it be working out, whether it be showing up to things like this and having a place to voice your opinion, little by little, those things build up and they bring you back, and you are okay. Eventually, you just got to get back to being there. We're all not okay sometimes, right? But what I shared in the chat of that, which I'll share it again too, if anyone didn't get it, that resilience plan, oh, that's not the right link. I'll send it though. But the real core of it is recognizing and creating mindfulness around what works for you, who supports you, and what you do in these times, whether it be yoga, working out, meditation, having a glass of wine, whatever it is, and to keep creating spaces for that. Because you keep creating spaces to go to work every day, right? You keep creating spaces to listen to the news or to take in things of what's going on around us. You're continuing to create those spaces. And so in that balance, we need to also create those positive spaces and those opportunities for positivity in your life. Otherwise, the negativity starts to feel like it's closing in on you. So I just invite you to go back to the things that have fed your soul in the past, and to even consider trying some new things and moving forward. And don't give up on that feeling. It's still there. You're still okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lottie, for sharing. We really appreciate that. I'm sure a lot of what you said is a lot of what other people are feeling. And by you sharing it, you've not only helped yourself, but helped others to acknowledge and recognize that some of those same feelings. I think just speaking out about it is so, not keeping it in. When you doesn't it feel bad to hold something inside where you just feel ashamed when we let shame take us over? I see you all laughing up there, Doreen. If you guys want to unmute and chime in, it's like that we're going to put you on the spot. Doreen's putting you on the spot. Please unmute and talk to us. We only have a few more minutes, but share what you're thinking, please, because it's so powerful in us sharing with each other.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm definitely a person that, when I go through something, it feels a certain kind of way on the inside, and then you share with, my support system, and I'm like, okay, it wasn't that bad, So I tend to be very hard on myself. So anything, that I internalize, it's, tenfold. And then you have, like I said, your support system that just helps you, walks you through that, and helps you see a different angle from it, of it. So yeah, that's why I was laughing.
I love it. You raised a really good point, and there's a distinction, right? With whatever our support group is, ultimately and hopefully, it's one who's not going to accept the invitation to our pity party and endorse it, right? Because, you know, processing is important. And yes, it's letting the steam out of the kettle with whatever we're feeling and with whatever even level of pessimism. But we know we're in the right support group when they sit in there with us, number one, and number two, they help us see it from a different perspective. Right? You know, when they talk about in scripture, you know, Jesus saying, turn the other cheek, it wasn't to be more vulnerable. It's no, let me see it from a different perspective. So, you know, we know we're in the right support group and we're talking to the right people when we can process and even be in the valley, but yet they're saying, okay, you know, they're speaking to us as our best friend, as our higher self, reminding us this too shall change. What if you looked at things differently? To Amber's point, she's one of my best friends. You know, what do you need? So yeah, as opposed to, yeah, girl, yeah, you know, you're in trouble now, or, you know, co-signing that low vibration. That's not what we want to foster. Yeah. So making sure we have the right support group around us to help take us out of whatever challenges we may be experiencing in our minds.
And I just felt so good just to hear you say that. So that feeling of knowing that you got your crew does feel so good. And so if there's one thing that we can walk away with, it's identifying who is your support system and intentionally creating spaces and times to lean on them. My grandmother passed away around this time last year. And so my mom used to talk to her every morning. And my mom and I would usually talk later in the day and every couple of days. But since my grandmother's passing, my mom and I talk every morning. And I find it something that I look forward to, and a place that we know that we can be there for each other. And so we're intentional. At 8:30 in the morning, I know my phone's going to ring and my mom's going to call. And I look forward to that. So I encourage us all to look for those, to be intentional about creating, identifying, and making those times and spaces for us to be with our loved ones and support each other. I also want to ask if there's, we got another just couple minutes, but if there's any way, if we can share some of the things that we do when we're trying to cope, bounce back, feel better with each other, like what are our best practices? Is there anything that you want to share with others of what you do that brings you calm or peace or joy, that may speak to someone else in their needs?
I'll chime in for a sec. There are a few things that I like to do that I enjoy. I'm a girly girl, and so like buying a fresh bottle of nail polish is always really nice, and it's affordable, and so I like to do things like that. And when I'm in good shape and I can reach my toes, I can give myself a little pedicure. And music and movement and dance and I'm still old, so I watch DVDs, and just like the DVD of an old movie that I absolutely love that cracks me up, you know, I'll do that. But what I was going to say quickly is that I do the same thing. I have a bestie council, and every morning we FaceTime each other, you know, when we're on our way to work. And so we'll have a coffee, and some calls are longer than others, but sometimes it's 2 minutes where we just check in, to tell each other that we love each other, and to sometimes they're a little longer at the end of the day if we're decompressing about things that have happened at work. But just the check-in that we committed to do that doesn't take anything away from the day. It doesn't require any like money, or we're just committed to each other's well-being. And so we call each other every morning with a FaceTime so we can see each other. We're all like masked up, and you know, we can only see half of each other's faces, but that's a really good thing that I look forward to every morning, whether it's for a couple of minutes or whether we're on for 15 or 20.
I love it. Bestie council. I love
The
it.
bestie council.
Bestie council. I know. I love it. I got a new name. Cool.
That's really great.
You can have TM copyright. No, I'm kidding.
I'll give you credit. I'll pay you royalties.
Point out something around the crystals. I'm big on crystals as well. I have mine here. My this is jade, but fluorite as well. I have here, and my pyrite. I think that one of the reasons that I'm attracted to crystals is because of the mindfulness. I use them as mindfulness tools to remind me of certain things. And so when I need something, if I need strength, if I feel like I need protection, I might bring out tourmaline. And it's just a mindfulness of attaching an affirmation or a mantra to that. I am safe, I am protected, is something that item, whether you believe or not in the molecular metaphysical properties of it and all of that, it is a mindfulness tool and a reminder of what it is that we need, and to go to that place and say that mantra, that affirmation. Michelle shared a beautiful affirmation with me that she says to herself, and you bless me with that, Michelle, because I use your affirmation as well. And it's just been something to bring peace and harmony to my world and set intention on my day. And so these reminders are just so important. So thank you for that, Desi. And thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else want to share anything before we go?
Okay, so I'll share. One thing that I do is, for me, is I found that I always looked at, like, speaking out or praying how someone else did it. So I've learned to take on, like, I asked someone to be my prayer partner, and it had me just be in a space that I can be myself and be so okay with it. And then I got the essence of prayer is just communication. And that just gives me power, that whether I start my day with it, whether I need it in the middle of the day, and I'm just in that place. And then just being able to, like what I heard here today, people just sharing right from where they are, and then the recreation of what people were saying. And I get so much by listening to others. It gives them the chance to feel like they really belong. And in that space, like 2020, I got it as a chance to have family, really be connected. And I used the Zoom, like family. We have my family call, and I have nieces that would never have been related in this lifetime to me or to each other are now related. And I said, if anything came from this pandemic, is like my dad, like the Daltons, or that's amazing, because we got to be related. Like, you know, always is someone in the family that has a child or the teenagers or something in that family. So I just opened it up to every Dalton that I knew. And our family has grown, and we are loving each other and talking about topics that never are talked about in our community or our family, like mental health. Like, it's real, like people will hide behind corners with it, but we're talking about it out there and offering what we do or what we've done and sharing that from a place of happiness and well-being, like there's nothing wrong. And that I'm so moved by, because, you know, for me, my culture has always been that something we hide behind, and it's not, it's life. We don't hide behind a cold or a virus, or we don't. So it's about our well-being and our life. And I just see so much growth for our family and our future. And so this year has been amazing in that perspective for me. And it just opened up the world.
Wonderful, Donna.
Ashe.
Ashe, ashe.
Thank you. We're so glad we got to hear from you, Donna. And that's like such a great closing remark for us. And that wraps up so well a lot of what we talked about in the last hour. So thank you for that. I just put in the chat. Oh, I put it wrong. Hold on, I'll do it again. This is I know I've heard some of you say that this was your first time joining us and that you just heard about this. So what I put in the chat is a link, bit.ly/Lunch Learn Thrive. You can watch replays of our past Lunch and Learns. You can sign up for our future Lunch and Learns there. Next month, we'll be talking about self-care. And coming up with some self-care strategies for the holidays, in hopes that you'll take a break and reset, replenish, and get ready for a 2021 that was much better than 2020. And so that'll be our focus. We'll be joining on the first Wednesday of every month and the first Wednesday of next month as well for that self-care session. Michelle, is there anything that you'd like to say before we go? It's 1:30 now. So
No, you said it all. December 2nd, self-care is healthcare.
yes. Exactly, exactly. Michelle, if you'd like to find out more about Michelle and myself, Michelle's website is intoactioncoaching.com. That's INTU actioncoaching.com. And my website is quartzwellnesscollective.com. That's QUARTZ wellnesscollective.com. We offer of course, services outside of what we're doing here. And so we invite you to learn more about those on our websites and join us on social media as well. You'll see our information listed on that Lunch, Learn, Thrive website that I gave you. So we are just so grateful for this time that we got with you, and we hope to connect with you in the future. We hope you become like another Desi. Desi is one of our regulars, and we love to see familiar faces over and over again. We do this
I
as
love being here.
having you.
Love seeing you. You have no
Yeah.
idea. This is our community. Oh, one thing I wanted to add before we shut down. For everyone who's attended today, I will be following up and providing you a link where you can actually take, they call it a stress quotient assessment, that helps you sort of take a litmus test based on, it takes 10 to 15 minutes, but you'll be able to kind of see exactly what your sort of stress level is. And this report that will immediately be sent to you will kind of give you some remedies for mitigating whatever, you know, your stress is. So look for that link sometime later today, if not tomorrow.
Yes,
That's
yes.
our gift to you.